Zulma, you got 7 minutes.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Hola. Happy Easter. How are you? Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, here it is. Okay, here are my 3 topics: incidental acquisition. Wait a second. Which one is this one? Let me see. Model of speech production and explicit versus implicit instruction. Okay, I have like an incidental acquisition refers to the acquisition of a language unconsciously without prior notice or be aware. A good example is this one, like I'm just gonna put it like a little bit, learning letters and sounds by singing. The kid has so much fun. They don't even aware, like they're just listening, dancing, and at the same time that they're learning. Let's see if I can put this one on. It's not, well, doesn't want to work. Oh, here it is. It's coming. Okay, loading. Okay, this is a long one. It goes from the A to Z, and they love it, and they will do that. If they don't know this, like the letter, like when it comes like a W, it's washing, wash, and they will start like moving. Oh, I know what that letter is, and then they will just catch it up. The other one that I have here is model of speech production by Avi Levels, model 1989. It talks about conceptualization, formulation, and articulation. I'm sorry. In conceptualization, we use our internal memory and the internal stimulus, like the environment. We decide what to say, and it is also known as a message level process, how people build understanding interaction, okay, taken from, like I said before, internal memory or external stimuli. Then it comes the formulation, which is like leads through a linguistic plan, and when this plan is developed, it comes the speech, like the input goes out through the articulation, okay? Another one that I have here is explicit versus implicit instruction. We use the term implicit instruction to refer to instruction in which the teacher simple present the information to the student, okay? Like in a way, like the student have like their own conclusion or their own concept, or they will just like absorb the information that makes the most sense to them. But instead of the explicit, is like providing explanation, and it goes like step by step. Okay, this is all for me right now. Go ahead. How do I stop share? Yes, here it is. Okay, I'm back.
You broke a record.
I like that.
Okay, here I go.
Was more than 7? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh,
You
okay.
did less than 7.
Okay, good.
Mhm. You did good. Okay. Here I go. Okay. Remind me, how do I do presentation? Here we go. Okie dokie. We are in PLC number 9, and we are talking about the role of implicit instructions. Um, this is presented by me, Walisa. My three topics are types of implicit instructions, output-based task, um, type of implicit instruction. First of all, we know that implicit instruction involves engaging learners in the com- in the comprehension and production of L2 for communicative purposes. That's the main idea. We have to understand that's what is implicit instruction. Then the types of implicit instruction, we have memorizing sentences as the first one. The second kind is meaning-centered instruction, where there is no focus on the form. It's a natural, it's entirely focusing on the meaning. It's what we call the natural approach by Kresham and Tellers in 1983, or where the acquisition occurs automatically. Then we have the second kind, that's plus focus on form. In that second kind, we gonna have two extra kind, which is the one that we enhance the input, where more input, where the purpose is for the students to notice the features while comprehending. And in that one, there are gonna be two kinds. They're gonna be the prominent, and they're gonna be the high frequency. The purpose is for the students, like I say, understand the features while they are comprehending. Then inside of the plus focus on form, we have what is called task-based language teaching, which I think Abby is going to be talking about later. And it's the one that, in order for something to be called a task, needs to have four characteristics or meet four criteria. One is requires a primary focus on meaning. Two, there has to be some kind of gap which the students are going to join. Three, the learner needs to use their own linguistic resources. And four, there has to be an outcome of communication. They have to be an outcome of communication. I'm sorry, and going back to that one. The attention will be always motivated either by the way the task is designed or the way this is implemented. Then we're gonna, then my second topic is output-based tasks. The output-based task requires the learner to speak or write. They're gonna be most of the researchers are that we have are always based in oral production, and there are two kind of them. There is the monologic one, where the learner rely on their own resources, like we're doing right now, or the dialogic one, where where like when we're having a discussion, where the learners collaborate with each other. Um, different the, between the different researchers, we have McDonough and McKay in 2000. They say that it provides learners with the opportunity to engage in a meaningful interaction and direct attention to the form. Um, then we have other researchers which they base their in one, the design of variables refer to the feature of the task. Two, the implementation of variables refer to the methodology of the task. In other words, it refers how the task is carried. And when we talk about the output-based tasks, there is a lot of controversy because it's such a overall defenders say that there is no possible to qualify or to say that output-based task is the best because it's kind of difficult to predict what the production of activity is going to be like, since every learner is going to interpret it and is going to carry out the task in different ways according to their goals or motives. But to be honest to you, I do consider there is plenty or evidence to show that specific designs and implementing this kind of task are going to come out with a great result. And therefore, for me, these are the best kind of tasks, but there always somebody who criticizes that. Then we have the about if it's really good or it's not. A lot of discussion about this is going on. And Swan in 2005 said that there is not evidence to say that CBLT is more effective than PCT. Then it comes Ellis. Ellis is telling us that CBLT promotes the kind of performance that makes easier the acquisition. Then Norris and Ortega and Espada and Tamika say that explicit instruction is the more effective one. Then Smith says that for grammar vocabulary, explicit instruction is better. And to be honest, for me, no forms of explicit instruction are spectacular, except school. Except school is good stuff. These aspects don't seem to that you're measuring. Don't consider that. Task-based instructions are different in many ways because individual factors like language or ability and age are going to affect the task production. Kentiani and Ellis is one of the best research that we have. Kentiani and Ellis in 2010, Kentiani by itself in 2012 and 2015 because they the way they design that research shows enough evidence to prove that both types of instruction were effective, but overall the implicit instruction always was superior. The study reported that implicit instruction resulted in superior incidental acquisition or grammatical acquisition of the grammatical features. And implicit instruction leads is directed something specific, that's the goal, nothing else but that. And in implicit instruction, we pretty much give the student or the learner free will to absorb and produce as much as they can. To be honest and to say this is better than this one, we need more studies that measure the effects of both kind of instruction, not only in one environment, but in different environments. But to me, I think both are good. Each one of them are going to have their own specific goals to fulfill. And like Suma was saying early, when we're singing, the kids are learning and they don't know they're learning. And we as a teacher, all the time, we are giving implicit instruction. We are the way we carry ourselves, the way we talk, the way we dress. Our students are learning from us. We are, as we walk into our classes, already teaching them. So there is no one kind. Every tool that we have in our repertoire and on our hands, we're gonna use it. So explicit and implicit instructions, you use them every day, and you don't understand, and you don't even know it. And that's it for me.
Wally,
Yes, ma'am.
it sounds better without that microphone, I think. It's kind of like a feedback or something. I don't know why.
You want me to take it out then?
Yes, I mean, for,
I'm done anyway.
okay, okay.
So
Go ahead, Avi.
Okay. I'm sharing. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. Mm, Okay. Can everybody see this? Okay, perfect. All right. So, it's PLC 9, and our chapter this week was on the role of implicit instruction. So, my three topics this week are going to be the trade-off hypothesis, task-based teaching, and monologic versus dialogic task. So, let's get into it. After I check the time. Okay. All right, so the trade-off hypothesis, this was developed by a researcher and scientist named Ski Han in 2009. And basically, it states that when a student is learning, they won't be able to focus on all three aspects of language fluency. So they won't be able to focus on the form and the accuracy and the comprehension, the semantic meaning of the text is what the trade-off hypothesis is saying, that instead there will be a trade-off that occurs in which the students will only be able to pay special and close attention to one aspect of language fluency. And for me, I think this hypothesis plays an important role in how teachers should shape their lesson around the learning targets that the students should meet. So, for example, if I'm teaching about grammar, but my students don't know the words, the vocabulary that's in the sentence, I can't teach my students about grammar if they don't know what the sentence means. Um, because you have to know what a word means to know that it's an adjective. For example, if you don't know the word pretty, and I'm trying to teach you what an adjective is, and I say pretty girl, and you don't know what pretty means, you're like, what does that mean? And so that's when we have like a trade off of where I'm trying to get my students to focus on the form, they're going to be focused on the lexical aspects of the grammar because they don't know what it means. And so Skahan is saying that this happens all the time in learners' brains, that at first it usually goes to semantic meanings, so lexical meanings of words, and then later it will go on to form, and then the last one would be accuracy in production. And so this actually plays into Levelt's model of speech production that was talked about earlier with conceptualization, formulation, and articulation. So basically, this is playing into this trade-off, saying that first we have to understand the concept, and that's what we're going to focus on. Then we have to understand how to make it, how to make our speech and our production, and then we have to learn how to articulate it all together like a beautiful painting all together in a masterpiece. And also the book talks about parallel processing versus non-parallel processing in this section, which I think is really cool, because it talks about and helps provide understanding for content teachers, because while we as native speakers are processing all of these things, conceptualization, formulation, articulation, all at the same time, and we can do that in a parallel manner, non-native speakers, ESL learners cannot do that because you're trying to focus on one aspect of the language at a time. So it's a non-parallel process. And that is kind of hard for a lot of content teachers to understand sometimes, and maybe even ESL teachers, that we have to take things at a different route for ESL students than we would for other students. And so basically the whole point of this hypothesis, Kahan notes, is that it balances the tension between performance and acquisition. So it shows the students what they need to be focusing on and gives them the tools to be successful in focusing on that one area. Okay. And my classroom example here is if the students want to improve the fluency when speaking, their teacher or the teacher might give them a familiar conversation topic in which most of the vocabulary needed to be able to speak and produce language has already been learned. So maybe, for example, I know a lot of a lot of high schools around the area do sheltered history. So maybe talking about a history topic that they have already been talking about. That would be a lot more helpful for the students than giving them a topic they have no idea what it's about. All right. Our next topic is task-based teaching. And this is a way in which we teach implicit instruction, in which students perform a series of tasks that allow for authentic interaction and leads to developing a greater understanding of the language. And I love here that he uses the word authentic, because I think that's so important that it's not rehearsed, because then we're just going back to that autolingual method where we're just filling in the gaps of the sentences that we've memorized by repetition. So I really love that they say this is authentic interaction that is encouraged by the task, because that's what language is. When we're talking, we're encouraged by different things to speak and communicate. And so this is kind of simulating more of that real life conversations that they're going to have rather than just what's in a classroom. And so what is a task? Wally covered this, but it's requires a primary focus on language. There's a gap. Learners rely on their own knowledge of the language or each other's, depending what kind of task it is. We'll get into that in a second. And there's a communicative outcome. The effective task can be influenced by the design and the implementation. We've also already talked about that. But I like how he broke that up, because I never really kind of broke it up into, oh, okay, well, of course the design affects it, but also how I present it is going to affect my students, and how the teacher is speaking about what's happening in the classroom is going to affect my students, not only their motivation, but also the way in which they go about doing things. And that's why scaffolding and modeling are so important, is because we have to show our students how we want them to do it so that they will have the knowledge to do it themselves. It's the I do, we do, you do kind of mindset that I want them to have in my classroom. And so the performance of a task focuses on 3 areas: comprehension, production, and focus on the form. And there are 2 different types of tasks: input-based tasks and output-based tasks. Now, I'm always going to side with the output-based tasks because I just think that being able to produce and speak and write is one of the bigger goals of learning a language. But I do think input-based tasks are important for forming that inner language in your mind and just being able to comprehend, because that gives you reassurance that you're comprehending, especially in those early stages. You might not be able to produce, but you can still say, oh, yeah, I understood that. Like, oh, I heard that song on the radio yesterday and I knew what this word meant. Like, wow, crazy. Okay, so my example for this one is one method of a task-based teaching that I see a lot in the ESL classroom is doing like a coloring worksheet, and the teacher tells you to color the nose maybe red. And so if the student colors it red, you know that they've comprehended the vocabulary of color, the, and nose, and red all together, and that they're understanding you and they're following you. So this is task-based teaching. And that's just one example. We do this all the time. All right. And then monologic versus dialogic task. I never heard it like this before, but I think it's really interesting to look at both sides. So monologic tasks are independent tasks in which the learner relies on their own language ability to produce a form of output. So one example the book gives is writing a narrative. So this is just a task that the student does by themselves. This is individual work in the classroom. That's what this would look like. And it just helps the learner reach more of a higher comprehension level. And it really helps the teacher know or be able to note the abilities of the student, and just their abilities, not the student and their partner or the student in the class, but just the student's abilities, so that the teacher can better educate the student and see where the gaps are in their learning. Whereas the dialogic tasks are codependent tasks and they're completed by multiple individuals. So one thing that's great about this is that they help each other use, I just misspelled that word, each other close the information or opinion gap in order to produce output. So I like how they talk about that there's a gap, because that takes us back to the whole I+1 thing that we were talking about. There's a challenge, there's information that we don't know, or there's an opinion that we don't know, and we've got to reach a common ground or a common answer on our goal. And I think this is very creative, and we can use this in so many creative ways in our classroom, because our students love to argue for some reason. And so if they want to argue, we'll get them to argue about something and learn English. Or they love to find out new information, at least in my school. And I put down here that monologic tasks are really at a disadvantage because they limit the learner to reliance on their knowledge only. Whereas in dialogic tasks, they can communicate with each other. So even though they might not be able to be producing maybe a spoken task, they're still relying on each other to communicate and kind of fill in the gaps in that vocabulary or meaning. And they can negotiate meaning and improve accuracy. Okay. And then my classroom example here for monologic is the student is given the task of writing an autobiography about their life. And then for dialogic, 2 students are asked to work together to create and share a presentation about their favorite food in America. All right. And thank you. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. All right, let me stop sharing. Okay.
Hey, Abby, I just realized something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we say that we were going to do the 5 topics,
Mm-hmm.
and we say we were going to do task-based teaching,
Mm-hmm.
explicit versus explicit, and then we were going to do types of implicit because monologic and dialogic were part.
Mm-hmm.
Just now I realized I got it all backwards. If we do type of implicit,
Mhm.
it will be task-based language teaching. What's
Yeah.
connected. If we
Yes.
do output-based tasks, is when monologic and dialogic comes across.
Yes. Okay. True.
Suma, now that you are with us, let's agree what we want to be 3 or 4. Okay? Do you think type of implicit instruction is more important than output-based tasks, or output is more important than types of implicit instruction?
Asking me. Just repeat it again.
Okay, Suma,
Yeah, I'm
type
here.
of, types of implicit instruction is going to involve task-based language teaching, okay? Or output-based tasks is going to involve monologic and dialogic tasks. To me,
Okay.
that one, the second one, is what I really wanted to say this afternoon
Okay.
when we were talking.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay, so we are all good because now today we have plenty of time. That's what I'm talking right now.
You
I'm
know,
trying to get
spring break, everybody's like, ooh, relax.
no, no, girl, I have confetti still in my hair. We had an egg pie with the eggshells. I know my bathrooms are gonna stock with confetti. I mean, and I was rushing the kids, and I had 3 dozen of egg, and I was just throwing them because I knew they were gonna keep fighting. And like, I need to get done. Come on, guys, let's hurry up. Well, we have fun. Let's put it that way. So, okay, so let's cross it out what I have said earlier. So, our 5 topics, we all agree it's going to be first, task-based teaching. That's the most important one. Then we're going to compare explicit versus implicit. That's the second topic. Our third topic is going to be output-based tasks. And inside of those output-based tasks, we agree that the fourth topic is monologic and dialogic tasks. Because honestly, let's be honest, the goal is for them to be able to communicate. Yes, we're looking for the grammar and we're looking for the writing, and we want to be perfect students and reach that point. But I see most important to me if they are able to communicate.
That's
So
right.
being able to carry out the
And I believe
monologue,
the other one will come along.
Mhm.
and then therefore it will come models of speech.
Mhm.
So here we go. We have 10 minutes left, if I'm correct, Abby.
Yes.
We got 11. We're fine. Go ahead and do it.
Okay, 5. Hold on, I'm putting my timer. Our 5 topics are task-based teaching, explicit versus implicit, output-based tasks, monologic dialogic tasks, and models of speech. Abby, you take the lead with task-based teaching. That's our main one.
Cool. So I think, like we just said earlier, the goal is to have our students communicate. And what task-based teaching does is teach our students how to rely on themselves and how to rely on others in order to communicate through completing a task. So let's say like our learners have immigrated to the United States and their parents are going to work and they're doing the same thing. They are learning to complete a task. They're at work and that's the task that they're completing. And so we want to teach our students how to complete little mini tasks every single day that it's just called life in order to be able to communicate in English. And so task-based teaching is so important and our most important topic because it gives the students an outlet to feel purpose in their learning and it helps them understand how to work together to complete a goal or how to reach the chasm in between an information gap and where they stand. And so I think that's why task-based teaching is the most important. Do you have anything to add?
No, and I think that connects perfectly fine with output-based tasks because I think all the tasks, no matter how we define it, they have to meet the 4 criteria like Ellie say and all that kind of stuff. But any task we put out for the students in the classroom is going to have as a goal an output. We want an output. Obviously, here we are trying to get the student to either speak or write. And as we have said, the main research, like I say, the main researchers has all work about the oral production, and and that's our main goal, for them to be able to communicate, for them to be able to speak the language. And they're gonna the output based task, they're gonna differentiate if the variables is the design or the implementation. And what you were saying earlier, Abby, is true. I mean, seriously, it doesn't matter how much I prepare my class. The moment that I'm teaching, if I'm not connected, if my soul is not there, if my spirit is not there, the message is not going to come across. One of my co-workers have one of the best presentations, super well prepared, but it's the way she just sit down and talk, and there is no connection. The kids fall asleep. I mean, if your soul is not there, if you don't get that, if the way you implemented what the oh my gosh, the word came, your class, the anyway, your lesson plan. There you go. That's what I was looking. The way you implemented your lesson plan. You can have the perfect, the 100-point lesson plan, but if you're not connected, it's not going to function. Therefore, since our goal is output-based tasks, is for them to speak. That's when our number 3 topic is going to be monological or dialogic task. Go ahead, Abby.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say something before, like about explicit and implicit. That was second one, right?
That was it. Yes.
Oh my God, yes. I was
Okay,
like, oh my God, we got 6:41. Okay. I was just saying that I want to agree with Wally, and at the same time, I believe that we both need like explicit and implicit, because they're both going to like the same target. They both go together to the same goal. Okay. And also it will go like everywhere with you, like explicit, implicit. I have a friend that always walk with me because I have that student attached to me all day. And wherever I go, like I will go saying, hey girl, hey, good morning. And he will just repeat what I'm saying all the time. So he's learning, he's getting it. Like unconsciously, he's getting it. And I'm not even trying to teach him how to say stuff. He's just getting it. He's picking up everything I have been saying before.
It's
Okay.
what I was saying. And we are the representation. We are the source of knowledge for them. And sorry, girls, I messed it up. First
No,
one
it's fine. I thought you were, and I was like, oh, what did I miss?
no,
No.
me. I jumped ahead because I couldn't get you.
And I also just want to say,
and seriously, they're teaching involve both explicit and implicit. It's depending on what we are teaching. We're going to use explicit teaching or
and I believe it's also going to depend what the needs are in that class or in each case.
What's the goal?
Yes.
What's the goal? But we all have to keep in mind, everything we do, we are portraying what they're learning. Everything we do, the way we dress, the way we talk, they even see what you're eating, what you're drinking. They're gonna copy you, no matter how old they are. Because even my high schoolers, they come to me and say, Mr. What you got? What you did? What this? So anyway, so we got number 1, task of
number 3. Let's go. We're running out of time.
Number 3, output task. And now, yes, Abby, go ahead. Monologic and dialogic. I'm sorry, Abby.
Just to follow up on the conversation that's already been happening, I definitely think that explicit and implicit and output and or not output, monologic and dialogic based tasks, they both are like the best of both worlds. Like they go hand in hand. We always have to have both. We can't just have one. Just kind of like when we're cooking, we can't just have one ingredient. We got to have everything to make the perfect recipe. And so for monologic and dialogic tasks, I think there does have to be an equal balance depending on what the students need, because I see in my classroom a lot of students just need more confidence. Like they just need more confidence in themselves. And so we do a lot of dialogic tasks so they can work together to build that confidence, and they don't have to feel so, oh, this is just me, like I'm so overwhelmed by everything. But then sometimes they need a monologic task so I can say, hey, like on your last iReady test, you grew from kindergarten to third grade on your reading, and like that's amazing. And so just being able to see like what the students are able to do individually in monologic tasks, and then what they're able to do together and work as a team through communication and dialogic tasks is important for the teacher to see. Okay, and we can move on to the next one.
Sumita, model
Okay.
of speech. That's
The
the last one.
talk about conceptualization, formulation, and articulation. Okay, I got like conceptualization, it have to be what you have in your memory, like your environment inside and your stimulus like outside. Okay, and what are we going to say, what we decided to say, and it is also known as message level process. Is how people build understanding, interaction, and how to produce a word. And formulation leads to a linguistic, how do I say this? So leads our thought to a linguistic plan. How am I going to say this? How do I put this all together? This speech flow come out and it goes all together. So we're good. We still have 2 minutes left.
Yay!
That's good.
Happy Easter, everybody. We made it.
We made
One
it.
more and we're done. Praise the Lord. Thank
No,
you.
2 more
Jesus.
weeks.
Hallelujah.
Woo! All right, I'm gonna turn off the
Good night,
recording.
everyone.
Good.